4 Serbs were killed, sheep were stolen and houses were torched. A lot of families were made homeless. The only thing the attackers left behind was a clue to who they were, a package with American-manufactured first aid kits. There were no military targets connected to this place, only Serb families working on their farms. For the Serbs, this attack became a marching order. On the 6th of July 1995, the Serb general Ratko Mladic attacked Srebrenica.
There had been killings in the Drina River Valley on both sides before the Bosnian Civil War officially began in April 1992. Serbs there have always been very nationalist. The Bosniaks there have always been very, very nationalist, going back to before World War II. So there was a lot of settling of scores in 92, 93, 94, a lot of, more than 1,300 Serb civilians butchered by Muslim forces under Nasser Oric. It was very clear that if Srebrenica fell, there were going to be a lot of Muslims who were simply going to be massacred.
Mladic had 4 tanks and 400 men. In reserve, he also had 1,600 armed locals. But Mladic didn't trust them since they lacked discipline and would use every opportunity to revenge Oric's attacks on the villages. The Serbs were outgunned by NATO's fighter aircraft, 450 Dutch peacekeepers, and Oric's 5,500 soldiers.
Under what circumstances would he leave?
Okolnosti nema koja bi mogla da utiče da mi napustimo Srebrenicu. Znači, one grobove koje smo ostavili ovdje, one živote koje smo dali za ovu Srebrenicu, za ovaj dio Srebrenice, je nemoguće da mi napustimo tu Srebrenicu i nećemo nikad do posljednjeg čovjeka, dok bude živio i dok bude se kretao uda po ovim terenima, nećemo sigurno otići. A i kasnije, naši duhovi moraju ostati tu.
But Nasser Oric's promise to defend Srebrenica to the last man was an empty one. Already in April 1995, he'd left Srebrenica by helicopter with 12 of his commanders. Nasser Oric was not prepared to become a martyr for Srebrenica. Huso Sailovic was no longer an officer in 1995. He had criticized Oric's black marketeering and was kicked out of the army. Others, who did the same, were severely beaten or killed. The day before the fall of Srebrenica, Huso Sailovic volunteered to fight again.
I onda sam došao ovdje na jedan ogroman prizor, znači to je poslije podne 10. jula, gdje narod počinje da biži iz periferije grada, iz Petriće, žene vuku kese, djeca plaću, nekog ovcu, kravu, sve to biži sa periferije grada. Jedan prizor koji se meni prvi put dešava u životu i jeza me fata. I onda pomislim, pa je li ovo sve gotovo, narod već napušta grad i tako dalje.
Huso Sailovic and his men waited in the trenches for 12 hours, but got no orders from their leaders.
Hajmo, reko, ljudi, vojska gori, jer nema niko da to vodi, nema. I krećem ja gore sa ovog dijela, jedan broj ljudi, 50-100 ljudi, neki s uniformama, neki ne sa naoružanjem, normalno. Krećemo gore da vidimo jesu li četnici išli u grad, odnosno da zaustavimo, razumijete? sati noći, Srebrenica još nije pala tu, ne znam šta se dešava. I mi sjedimo tu i uopšte ne znamo šta se dešava. Niko nikog ne konsultuje. Oni se negdje sastaju tu noć, vojno i civilno rukovodstvo, i donose odluku da se Srebrenica napušta. Pazi, mi smo izolovani, mi smo po strani, mi ne znamo šta se dešava.
S Alijom smo imali razgovor u 5 sati ujutru, otvoren, da spašava žene, djecu i starce, a nas vojno sposobni nek nas pobiju kad nećemo da se branimo. On je rekao da mi držimo još 2 sata, međutim nikad se više nije htio javiti. Ja sam u ovom ratu izgubio 2 brata i oca koji nisu uzeli oružje. Ja jesam uzeo oružje. Plakali smo mi taj dan kad je Srebrenica pala. Vidjeli smo izdaju i od Alije Izetbegovića i od međunarodne zajednice. Imaju samo dobri i loši ljudi u svakom narodu. Alija je loš čovjek.
Professor Filipović is certain that Orić's army did not fight because there was an agreement between the Serbs and Muslim leadership.
To guarantee that there is not going to be defense.
So to guarantee there's not going to be...
That Muslims are not going to defend themselves. To defend Srebrenica. That Serbians are going to be allowed to enter the Srebrenica.
Who made that decision? Who was key to making that decision?
Izetbegović.
On the morning of the 11th of July 1995, the Bosnian Serb general Ratko Mladić drove easily into an empty Srebrenica. Everyone had left the town.
Jesu naši još napred? Jesu još napred. Čiste gvali uzeti. Možete komotni s autobusom. Dobro, znam ja da može neki da on za mnom polako.
Soon, Mladić could triumphantly walk into the deserted headquarters of Nasser Orić.
Nasserovo brte skrovište. Pravac Potočar. Pravac Potočar i Bratunac. Nemoj se zaustaviti. Hajde.
With no one to defend them, about 20,000 old people, women and children fled in panic to the Dutch UN base north of the town. Mladić faced a serious and unclear security situation and wanted to find the missing Orić army as quickly as possible. On the evening of the 11th, he called for an urgent meeting with the United Nations peacekeepers to locate Nasser Orić's 5,500 soldiers. The Dutch UN commander asked the school teacher Nesib Mandić, who after the war became the mayor of Srebrenica, to join them in the negotiations with Mladić.
Šta vi želite, Nesib? Mislite mene lično, može? Narod taj šta želi. Pa želi da se spasi patnje. To želi i srpski narod da je drugi. Pod broj 1 trebate da položite oružje i svima koji polože oružje garantuje život. Imate moju reč kao čovjeka i generala da ću iskoristiti svoj utjecaj i da pomognem nedužnom muslimanskom stanovništvu koje nije cilj dejstva Vojske Republike Srpske. Nesibe, i u vašim rukama sudbina vašeg naroda.
But Nesib Mladić could do nothing. Neither Izetbegović nor anyone else from the political or military leadership bothered to answer Srebrenica's calls for help. Most of the 15,000 Muslim men in Srebrenica had no intention of surrendering. They feared Serb revenge after the village massacres in 1992 and 93 and tried to escape through the Serb-controlled mountains that surrounded Srebrenica. The column of men was a mix of soldiers and civilians.
The fact is, within 24 to 48 hours of the fall of Srebrenica on 11 July 1995, elements of the Bosnian Serb army under the control of their counterintelligence service executed probably about 2,000 Muslim males, most of them prisoners of war, disarmed prisoners of war. And the other 5,000 or so Muslims who were killed over the next 5 days during the breakout by small to large groups, accompanied by the battalion-sized groups trying to break through with civilians with them back to their second corps lines around Tuzla. And they were just killed in large numbers by artillery fire, by machine gun fire, because the Serbs were able to locate them, they knew where they were. But again, to the Serbs, to be fair, this looked a lot more like a conventional military operation.
Today, even Serb officials admit that wide-scale war crimes took place in the hills around Srebrenica. But the Serbs will never admit that this was premeditated genocide.